Hello guys, and welcome to another Black Desert patch notes video. So let's see what we got this week in terms of improvements, if anything got worse or hopefully better. So I guess let's get started right away with the events tab. The first event that we got this week is called Happy New Year, and this is basically a quest that you can accept at an NPC called Lani in Velia, Hydael or Calvion, and once you accept and complete this quest you will be given a mean spy as a reward. As a first look, this event doesn't seem to be too special because I have no idea what the mean spy does, but it may turn out to be something very interesting. Anyway, moving on, the second event that we got for this week is the General's Accessory event. This one seems rather interesting because you have 3 weeks to complete this quest, and basically all you have to do is to complete 5 different quests to get a fierce fighting spirit stone, basically one for each of these quests, so 5 in total, and you need to use these stones to enhance one of the 3 accessories that you can get as a reward. And if you manage to get this earring, belt or ring to pen, you can enter into some form of that will allow you to get 1000 pearls as a reward. In my opinion, this quest doesn't seem to be 100% fair for all of us, because it seems like you can get exactly 5 of these fierce fighting spirit stones, one from each of the different quests, and these fighting stones basically have a 100% success rate to enhance the accessories that you choose. So basically if you complete these 5 quests you will for sure get a pen accessory. And the unfair part is that only 100 people from the Europe server and 100 from the NA server will actually get this 1000 pearls reward. So basically it's RNG if you get something in return for this event or if you don't get anything at all. Anyway, you have 3 weeks to complete these 5 quests and get the accessory to pen, and I would still do it because you have that small chance to win 1000 pearls, which is something that I would not ignore. So moving on to the last event for this week, we have the screenshot event. For this one, the Thermian beach was added again, and you have to take a screenshot in this area, and for this one you only have 2 weeks, and if you win this prize, or basically if you win the screenshot event, you will be given a special in-game title and some other small rewards. After that we get the sad news that the in-game winter theme was removed, so even though it's only January and we are halfway through the winter, the in-game winter theme was removed because I guess it wasn't here to stay for 3 months. And after that, the last thing on the event tab is that the desert debuff event has ended. So from now if you go back in the desert you're going to get the desert debuff. Moving on, we get into game world NPC and effects changes. From here the first thing is that the Thermian beach area is now a safe zone, even though I don't think this means that they added the Thermian beach entirely. NPC changes, it's pretty much irrelevant, and from content changes we have level 62 and level 63 characters can now use the Marni stone. However, if you are level 62 and above, if you turn in one of these Marni stones you will get hardly any experience at all. So I suppose this just means that they allowed level 62 and level 63 players to use the stones, but they didn't make specific stone experience rates for those levels. I'm going to have my part 2 of the Money Stone experience video out right after this one as soon as I start recording it, but from now the experience rates seem to be very high for the other levels, and if level 62 and 63 have hardly any experience at all, it probably just means that they get the same experience from the previous stone or something like that, instead of getting a higher value. So I guess what this means in the end is that nowadays level 62 might be the new soft cap, since at level 61 you get a lot of experience from these stones. So it should be way easier to get to level 62, but from 62 and above it should be still hard to level up. Moving on, the strong protection buff in Red Battlefield has been adjusted from 21 seconds to 13 seconds. So I suppose this means that now when you die in Red Battlefield and you take the NPC buff, you need to hurry up if you actually want to do any damage without taking any in return. Anyway, moving on, the next change is actually something pretty big that seems to be very useful, and that's the set effect for outfits has been revamped. So now if you want to equip different parts from different costumes, you can still get the set effects even if you are using maybe 3 different costume parts for a full new set. From what it says here, this only applies to normal costumes because I guess if you are using a camouflage costume or maybe the cooking or trading or processing ones, for those you still have to use all of the parts in order to get the actual bonus. I guess that's pretty fair since those costumes are pretty much the special ones, but in any case, if you want to make a nice looking costume combining more pieces from different sets, now you can do that and still get the combat experience and all the other buffs. Moving on, we get into class changes, and from here this week we don't really have anything relevant. On the previous week we got the huge ranger buff with increased range for all of the skills, the bow skills, and some super armor effects and forward guards, but this week it's not really that much to be said. Warriors got an HP recovery increase for one of their skills. Berserkers got the basic attack power increase for PvE and basically nothing for PvP, so the same buff that most classes already got. Moving on, we got some attack range increase for Valkyrie, basically just regular small buffs to balance the classes. So I'm just going to jump through the rest and get into item changes. From here the only interesting part is the description change for costumes, basically to match the new set effects, and next up we have monster changes, where again the only interesting part is the durability of Manchaum Totem and Manchaum Charm has been reduced by 75%. If I remember correctly, these two buildings were reduced even more in the past, but I suppose now they have even less HP. Next up, usually I jump to the quests and knowledge tab, but this time I believe it's worth talking about, because it says that for monster knowledge with grades, higher grade knowledge will now replace the current knowledge without having to delete the previous one. So basically now if you grind on a certain spot over and over, you should eventually get the A and S rank knowledge for all mobs, without having to manually reset them over and over until you get the proper grade. This change excludes monsters like the world boss monsters, which require a certain level of amity with an NPC to acquire. So except those, you should be able in theory to just grind endlessly or for a few days or hours, not sure what the rate is, on a certain area and eventually get your S ranks. This is actually very good news for those like me who basically never reset their knowledge and still have the B and C ranks for almost every area in the game. The other changes seem to be pretty much irrelevant, so I'm going to jump into interface changes, where the first interesting part, or somewhat interesting, is that now during a node tour, if you click on a node, it's going to bring up the node information instead of the node name. Then after that we have an event window will pop up when there is no attendance reward event, which is pretty much irrelevant, but I guess I still mentioned it. And lastly we have the icon image for the Kapotia ring, however it's pronounced, the level 61 ring basically has been reworked, so I suppose now it should look a lot better. I still haven't logged into the game, but when I do I'm going to check it out and hopefully it's going to look a lot better. After all, that's a level 61 ring and it should look like a level 61 piece of gear. With that I'm pretty much done, so to recap the big changes for this week, we got the set effect changes for the costumes, so now you can combine different pieces from different costumes. We got the difference or the change in how you get knowledge for monsters. Hopefully I am right about this and it means that I can just keep on grinding for hours a certain spot and eventually get my A and S knowledge. And then we have the events, basically the pen accessory. if you want to spend the time to, actually should spend the time to get one of those to pen and hopefully be one of the 100 people who get 1000 pearls, and the screenshot event. The other pie event, not sure what it does, but it probably is somewhat interesting as well. And also, yeah, I forgot the Marnie stone. Now if you are level 62 or 63, you can get experience for those stones, even though it's going to be pretty much irrelevant. So with that, I hope this video helped you in some way, or maybe you found it interesting or entertaining. Whatever the case, if you made it this far, I appreciate it, and maybe I will see you guys in the next video, which is going to be most likely the Marnie stone part 2. So yeah, see ya later.